Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing a Recon the Role-Playing Game advice video on fire and maneuver. This is something that players and game masters alike need to understand about modern warfare. As a player character, moving in the bush is a constant. On patrols, it is important to move carefully and quietly. Any sound can alert an enemy to your presence. One must keep alert for ambushes and booby traps, which your point man may have missed. After all, nobody's perfect. The whole point of fire and maneuver is to keep yourself alive and be able to kill the enemy. That's what Recon is about. And I'm going to have to give a bit of a warning here. This video may get a little graphic, and I apologize. Get back to the video though. A startlingly large number of wounds inflicted by booby traps were done so by traps which the point man missed and didn't set off himself by accident. Check out my video on booby traps. I did a good video on that. Ambushers are notorious for hiding well and letting the point man move on. That way, the bulk of the unit can be caught in their kill zone. Usually one of the ambushers, probably a sniper, will keep an eye on the point man so he cannot double back and flank the ambushers once the attack begins. But for the most part, they want to get more people in the kill zone, and that means letting the point man go by. That means the point man's they're gonna do their best to make the point man miss them. Okay, so ambushes become prevalent. Before I get into this video too hard, if you enjoy my content, it would really help me out if you would hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, share my content on social media, and post a comment or two. Remember, I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. If you enjoy a good book, check out my author page on Amazon. My pen name is H.L. Anderson. You can find all of my books there. I like to think I write good stories that make you think. I wrote a 3-book science fiction Western series called Drifters. I wrote a fun story about a house in New Orleans where the monsters all hang out. It's called The House Off Farrago Road. I wrote a political fantasy called The Righteous President, and I'm working on the 3rd in a series. I'm thinking about calling it the Devo Poland Chronicles, but I haven't decided yet. I'm working on the 3rd one. The first one is Vanguard 1. The second one is Task Force Terminus. They are on that author page. It's futuristic science fiction space warfare. It's a study of humanity from an alien perspective. I hope you get them, and I hope you like them. Now, on with fire and maneuver. Once the enemy has been engaged, a number of factors must be addressed. First, cover. Everyone must get cover. Standing out in the open and firing at the bad guys is usually not a good idea. The bad guys have cover, presumably, and are hard to hit. In an ambush situation, anyone who survives the initial salvo must seek cover. A properly laid out ambush will take that into account, but the alternative paints a target on your back. Wherever you decide to take cover, you have to assume the enemy knows about it, and they've taken that into account, and they've got something targeting that. So when you take cover, move. The second one is maneuver. Anyone who sits still in a combat situation is begging for a grenade or mortar round, So when you're talking about fire and maneuver, move or die. Maintain your cover and stay concealed, but move. Try to flank the enemy if possible. The third aspect is fire superiority. The idea of fire superiority is to lay down enough fire so the enemy keeps his head down. If he's hunkered down in his hole, he's not shooting at you. That's the main thing. Advancing through the enemy. The rules changed from World War II to Korea to Vietnam. The ranges got a lot closer, and so the tactics had to be adjusted. On a battlefield, the enemy's over there, you set up your formation, you shoot as many of them, use artillery, whatever, to decimate their area, then you send ground troops in to, to sweep up and mop up. In this, you don't know where the enemy is, So you have to find them. Moving through enemy-occupied areas is a tricky proposition. As I said earlier, you have to move slow, careful, and quiet. The objective of a long-range reconnaissance patrol, alert, is to find massed enemy units and then call in artillery or air support to eliminate them. That means you need to sneak up on them. If they know you're there, they'll move, you'll call in artillery, and the artillery will miss them. You have to sneak up on them, find out where they are, back away, and call it in. That's the whole point. Trails are to be avoided whenever possible. Enemy units use the trails in their home areas to move quickly. That means they are watched. That means the enemy can set up an ambush and traps at will. If you're moving along their trails and they're using their trails, you will be spotted. It's just a matter of time. Stay off the trails. Open areas in the foliage are to be avoided whenever possible as well. Open areas expose anyone moving through them. They become a prime target. Open areas and trails are to be avoided in your areas as well, because that's where the VC can sneak in and put landmines, traps, and set up ambushes. Trails and open areas are just bad, period. Okay? The only people who use trails are the civilians or bad guys pretending to be civilians. If a good guy is using a trail, he's a fucking idiot. That's all there is to it. Whenever possible, each player character should find a partner for field operations. These are commonly called battle buddies. This partner should be with you constantly and vice versa whenever possible. The point man, who is usually way out front, alone, by necessity, cannot have his battle buddy with him. The point man's battle buddy should be the first one in the main group. Keep in mind, interval spacing should be used at all times. Interval spacing keeps soldiers close enough to see the man ahead of them in line, but spaced far enough apart so that a grenade or a mortar blast will get as few men as possible, cause as few casualties as possible. Read the section on small unit tactics in the Recon Roleplaying Game book, page 164 to 170. Also, read the section on mobile overwatch, pages 42 and 43. As a matter of fact, just read that whole section on insertion, movement, operations, and extraction. It's really good, and you'll learn a lot. If you need to follow a trail for some reason, watch the ground for tracks. Locals who all walk on the left side of the trail, for example, may know of a mine or booby trap and are avoiding it on the trap that's on the right side of the trail. Maybe they saw the VC planting a mine there. Who knows? Never forget that the enemy has absolutely no regard for their own civilians, and in some cases are so fanatical that they have no regard for their own lives. Fanatics of all kinds are dangerous. They are so committed to their cause that they are willing to die to kill 1, 2, or 10 enemy soldiers. They will mine their own gear, their own roads and trails, their own huts, etc., and will sacrifice old men, old women, or babies to kill the enemy. I know that's disgusting, but it happened in real life. Shoeshine boxes, baby carriages, bicycles, sleeping mats, or anything else a soldier is likely to check may be wired to explode. This is sad, but true. Check out my video on booby traps. Keep in mind that local guerrilla fighters, the VC, are experts in hidden warfare and have been doing this for 1,000 years. They have forgotten more than you will ever know about guerrilla tactics. Add to this the fanaticism born of brainwashing and fear, and the danger level is multiplied. Always try to keep moving. I keep saying that, but people don't listen. Always try to keep moving, especially in combat. If you're sitting still with good cover and a great field of fire, that's cool, but it won't be long before the enemy lobs a grenade or a mortar round into your lap. As I said before, move. In many combat operations, the enemy will try to draw you in and lead you into a minefield or a trapped area. If the enemy withdraws, sometimes it's a smart move to let them go and call it a day. There's a combat doctrine that needs to be addressed. It was developed early on, and it works in virtually any situation. It's called the doctrine of fire and maneuver. One team lays down suppressing fire while another team moves to flank the enemy or to get within grenade throwing range or to get to a spot where they can use heavy weapons on the enemy position. This works well in assault operations, and players should be made aware of it. This would be in their training. So soldiers didn't just get dropped in Vietnam. They had training. The suppressing fire is meant to keep the enemy's heads down, or at least to keep their attention so that Team 2, with heavy weapons and grenades, can move closer by stealth and obliterate them. This can be done with as few as 2 men. One guy gets their fire, gains fire superiority. The other guy moves around and tosses a grenade into their hiding spot. Do not forget that sometimes it's better to back off, retreat, and call in artillery or air support. It's a lot easier and safer to sift through the rubble than it is to charge enemy guns. Player characters who die by charging the enemy guns are courageous heroes, but the objective is to survive. Making up new characters sucks. In a stand-up war, objectives can be taken, and the measure of success is the area you take. This is not a stand-up war. This is a guerrilla war where objectives shift and the area you control is full of enemy soldiers hiding amongst the civilians in plain sight. It's possible to find a booby trap in your hooch on your firebase where guards are posted. You go to make your bed, and then you go to dinner and you come back, you're going to go lay down, and you lay down and there's a pressure mine under the mattress. Or as you open the door, a pin gets pulled and the thing blows up. Stuff like that has happened. Another crazy tactic is you wake up in the morning and everybody else except for you has had their throat slit, because that demoralizes you. That was a favorite VC tactic. It's a crazy way to fight a war, but then is there such thing as a sane war? No. It's crazy, but there it is. I hope this helps. And again, I'm not trying to tell you how to run your games. I've been playing these games a long time, and if you want realism, it's got to be realistic. And to be realistic, you have to understand the situation. So there you go. Feel free to use, abuse, or ignore the information I give. The objective is to have fun, and if your players are having fun, you're doing it right. Hope this fun. And again, if you have all differing opinions or different information, put it in the comments. I'm sure we'd all love to read them. These are supposed to be educational for everyone, including me. Hope this finds everybody well. You folks have a good one. God bless one and all. There is a house in New Orleans where the monsters all hang out. When the police detective, who happens to be a skinwalker squirrel, uncovers a plot by a paranormal perpetrator, he has to enlist the aid of his fellow housemates. If you enjoy a modern, quirky take on historical mythology, check out my new original novel, The House Off Farrago Road.